Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade.
We chronicle the distinct memories of our childhood in our book, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s, which takes you on a notably historic journey through that often forgotten decade. We also want to hear about your experiences during the 1950s. We will feature guests whose special stories of that decade will bring to mind magical moments of reflection, some with tears, some with smiles, but above all, a good dose of laughter.
We would like you to chat with us as we bring to mind the sights and sounds so familiar to that time in history. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Hello, everybody, and hello, Sister Dear.
And hello, Janine and viewers.
Yes, yes, we're so glad that you are joining us today. It'll be another great fun chat because the story of this gentleman is amazing, and we as have been all of our other guest stories, and as those will be in the weeks to come as well. So Jackie, as we get started with our program today, how can you bring us into that?
Well, I can bring the viewers into this. Please, I have a couple of things to mention to you. Note on the bottom of the screen, www.whilethewindmillwatched.com. That is our website where you'll be able to find all sorts of information about the authors, the book, the vendors, the activities or events where you'll may be able to see my sister and or me, and the fun chat. So we have had many fun chats. And what's the number today, Janine?
Oh my goodness, look, this is number 87. But I want to go back to those vendors on our windmill team, those who sell our book. We are so grateful for those vendors and for you who have been able to purchase our book and have enjoyed our book and have shared the wonderful comments with us that sometimes what we wrote made you cry, sometimes it made you laugh, but most of all, we're just grateful that you selected the book for your reading material.
And speaking of the book, look on the upper right-hand corner. You'll see a beautiful North Dakota sunset on the front and the back. It wraps around and the book. And then you'll also notice a little white dot that maybe you aren't able to read at this point, but it says this. 2022 National Independent Press Award in the regional nonfiction category as the distinguished favorite. So our book was published in April of 21. This little award was given to us in April of 22. And who knows what, well, later on, we'll tell you what's happening this year.
Oh, golly, let's just tell now. Yeah, let's just tell
Okay.
now. While the Windmill Watched will be made into a motion picture and by Canticle Productions of Bismarck. And we have been told, Jackie and I are executive producers of the film, but we have been told that the first draft of the screenplay has been written, and we are excited to learn more about that and in the days to come and just the development of the film. It'll be so exciting. And we hope that you will find as much enjoyment in the excitement as we move along to have a film that's produced and premiered in North Dakota.
So without further ado, as they say in the big time, I'd like to introduce our guest. Clyde Bauman was born in 1953 in Mobridge, South Dakota, when his parents, Clarence and Marilyn Bauman, were living on the family farm. Both grandparents were farmers, as were three uncles and numerous other relatives. 2 years after his birth in 1955, the family moved to Bismarck, North Dakota. Clyde has lived there ever since. Now, Clyde has a bachelor's degree in music education from Dickinson State College. He married Janet Stull, a Bismarck native, in 1982, and they celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary last November. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. The union yielded a daughter, Sarah. She and her husband live in Ames, Iowa. So, Clyde, we welcome you to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Thank you.
Hello.
So we're going to start out with something, we're centering on the 50s, but we realize that the influence of the 50s spills over to the rest of our lives. So to begin with, what persons or experiences from the 1950s were influential in creating the person you have become at this time in your life?
First of all, family, and a lot of members of family. I have many happy memories of Grandpa's farm, other Grandpa's house. Both granddads farmed. One of them was no longer farming by the time I came around, but we knew about the land and we knew about his experiences out there, and had 3 other uncles who were still farming. And those times were pretty important. We got to see a lot. And of course, the importance of our own home, you can't discount that. But we had the advantage of having a whole bunch of homes, a whole bunch of family homes to go to.
I think that was quite often the story of young people who lived in the 1950s. And if it wasn't your families who were close by, the neighbors just considered you family, or you considered them family, and you all got along.
It was a great time to be a kid, that's for sure.
Yes.
Kids got to be kids, and adults were adults, and you could tell the difference, and you knew that you were part of the process.
Yes. So speaking of the 50s again, what fads or radio or TV ads do you recall in the 50s? And maybe because you have a music background, some of those musical jingles might ring a bell.
Not sure so much about jingles, but we had hula hoops. We had the first early skateboard. That was fun to fall off. And we always had bicycles, and whatever brand they were, we sure knew about them. We sure liked them. Had a red wagon. I suppose that was a radio flyer.
Yes.
Would have had that. And cowboy boots, because all us young boys, we, at some point, if we have any brains at all, we wanted to be a cowboy.
Oh, and
did you have a stick horse?
Pardon me?
Did you have a stick horse?
Yeah. and a rocking horse.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Clyde, who was your favorite? I'm calling who was your favorite cowboy of that era?
My favorite cowboy. There was a local program.
Buffalo Bob.
Cowboy Bob.
Buffalo Bob.
We got to watch that. That was fun. I was on there once.
Neat.
Part of the kid audience.
Yes.
That was nice.
Yeah. How did you get selected?
There was an Army themed show on the other, of course, back in this with 2 channels on the TV. And if you didn't like either one, then go outside. It's better for you anyway. There was an Army themed one on the other channel. Sergeant
Preston.
Sergeant Bill.
Oh,
and, we got to be in the audience once on that too.
Okay.
Fun.
Those were fun.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, how did you get selected to be on those programs?
Oh, I don't remember. They probably sent us a class at a time from the school.
I see. Okay.
I really couldn't say.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, with your televisions, then, did you have rabbit ears? And did you have to cover those rabbit ears with aluminum foil in order to get reception?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm sure we went through that.
Yes, that was all part of it if you wanted to watch television.
Yeah, my dad caught me once in front of the television when the national anthem was being sung at sign-on time.
Oh, yes.
And he had to tell Jack Case, who was a newspaper columnist for so long with the Tribune. He had a column called Browsing Around, and we all read that. And
I remember that column.
I made it into there once.
You're just one famous person, aren't you?
Yeah. I had my own take on the words of the national anthem.
Oh,
our one daughter is like that too. I don't think she still knows all the correct words to the national anthem because she just made them up when she was little.
Well, Dad reminded me that I sang "And the Home of the Brave," and then I added Braves, except I said a la baseball teams because we all love baseball, and then I added several other teams.
Well, good for you.
Yeah,
that's very American of you.
Yeah. Even back then, I was a copy editor.
As a child, do you remember the curfews in Bismarck, the nighttime curfews?
Yep.
Okay, and can you tell us about those? Because I think a lot of guests who we've had on the show are not familiar with a nighttime curfew at all in the city.
We all know what a curfew was, and I suppose the primary purpose of one is to keep you out of trouble. So we knew when it was time to go home. That's about all there is to that. Of course, summertime we were out all the time. Come home for lunch, come home for supper. Otherwise, you're just out there doing everything you can. Once again, it's a great time to be a kid.
And the curfew was a siren, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you certainly heard it when you were out.
That was, I think, typically 9 o'clock. There was a noon siren, let you know what time it was, and there was a 9 siren.
Okay.
So when you lived in town in Bismarck, is that right?
Yeah.
So what kind of chores does an in-town kid have?
What kind of
chores?
Oh, chores. Excuse me. More household than anything else, I guess. The first place the folks lived, I was too young to remember that, but in middle 50s, they moved to not too far from the river, close to what was the Holiday Inn at that time. My father was the office manager for the Holiday Inn, which is now the Bank of North Dakota, if you want landmarks, near the Memorial Bridge.
Yeah.
And everybody had chores. Mostly household. When you got older, then of course you're helping with the snow shoveling and raking leaves and that sort of thing, and picking up outside.
Did you receive an allowance, Clyde?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you recall what that was?
Yeah, little.
And then how did you spend that allowance?
In the summertime, we rode our bikes downtown and went to the double feature at the Capitol Theater.
The Capitol.
That was a big deal. And going to the swimming pool, the Elks pool.
The Elks pool.
That was a lot of fun. Tried to talk my way in there on somebody else's season ticket once, and I
didn't work.
One of those quick virtue lessons on telling the truth.
Did you go to the Dairy Queen after that?
We went to the Dairy Queen. Yeah, the one by the pool. That was a big thing. And again, that time we rode our bikes everywhere. That was fun. You got a quick lesson from the folks, and mind the traffic laws. Don't do anything stupid. And if you didn't learn it from the folks, you were going to learn it from real life real soon after that.
Okay. And
we rode everywhere. Had baseball games going all day, and football games in the fall in this backyard or that backyard, and had a wonderful time.
You bet.
So speaking of real life, can you think of any skill that you may have developed as a child that has carried over or somehow assisted you as an adult?
Not hard and fast skill would come to mind, but a great love for music and a great joy for life come to mind right away. We always said, I'm a career musician, and certainly had plenty of forerunners in the family. An uncle played accordion and organ. Granddad played accordion and organ and violin. He was a church violinist a church musician for over 40 years. And in his younger days, he led a dance band. They traveled the same circuit as Lawrence Welk did.
Right. Interesting.
So there was always music in the home, and I guess it's a skill you develop without knowing it. It's a natural ability, and how good or bad, well, there's matters of talent there, and you just don't know.
Yes, there you go.
That was a wonderful thing. The joy of music, the ease and the immediacy and the pleasure of it.
Yeah.
And, whether it's sacred or fun time music and whatever it happens to be. That's probably the most important thing.
Did you learn Sunday school songs when you were in Sunday school? Just little songs that you can recall today?
I'm not sure. I know more of my wife's Sunday school songs than ours, but there were plenty of them.
Okay.
Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. That would be.
Yes. Or I think too of This Little Light. This Little Light of Mine.
This Little Light. Jesus Loves Me, of course, my granddad's favorite song, and my father's too. And we knew gospel songs and kids' lullabies in German and in English. And that was a great advantage.
Yes.
So then, my question might be, what influenced you to major in music? But it seems as though that was just kind of infused into your cells. That you had constant influence.
It was. I think it was inevitable. I started out in speech because I had a great enjoyment of that too. And I had 3 majors in one semester. And from there, I went to organic chemistry. And,
Okay. That
was one of those "what in the world was I thinking" moments down the road. And because I always enjoyed book work and I always enjoyed learning, and this attracted me at some point, but I realized it just not me after a while, and ended up in music fairly quickly. Yes, don't know how smart I was then, but over the years you learn that it's something that is very readily passed on, for better or worse. And I hope my work has been for the better.
Did you take any, I'm going to say, organized piano lessons or lessons of a stringed instrument or band instruments?
I played violin for 2 years. I stunk at it.
Okay.
Because I was going to be a scientist. That I knew.
Oh, okay.
I was either first chair or second chair violin for those 2 years, but then we went to junior high and there were more than 2 players, so I quickly found the bottom of the heap and gave up on that. I had piano for a little while in kindergarten, but that was too young.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, right.
But as far as singing, we always did that, and that was easy. I was self-taught in piano later. I took it up as a project in the last 2 years of high school.
When you were studying the violin, was that in the all-city, was it 5th and 6th grade orchestra?
Yeah.
So Miss Culverson your teacher? Judith Culverson?
She was was not our all-city director. There was another one there. I can't remember the name. I remember I played in one concert, and we had a Strauss polka in there called Perpetual Motion, and my playing was the opposite of that. That's one of the strongest childhood memories I have. Sitting there in that chair with a music stand in front of me, and after about 8 measures, I was lost and just waiting for the thing to be over and putting in a note where I could.
Yes. Well, at least with singing, you can move your lips even if no sound comes out, but it's a little hard with an instrument.
Singing was I took to that much more easily. We sang, and of course at home all the time, and school music programs all the time. Those were easy. Church music programs too. I soloed in church when I was 10 maybe, and been doing that ever since.
Good. That's wonderful that you share your gift.
Yes. And you know what? If you are musical, you always have a group. There's a group waiting for you to join, so you can be a part of. And even if you were to move around, you'd have that music. Yeah.
Well, and later on, you were a founding member of a very important music group in Bismarck. Could you tell us about that?
I'm a charter member of the Bismarck Men and Civic Chorus. I wasn't one of the founders, but I was there from the beginning of that. We've had many different seasons and hundreds of choristers over the years, and I'm still privileged to sing in that group. Dr. Tom Porter, who heads the music department at University of Mary, he is the director of us and has been for some time. And glad to be in that. That's one of many musical groups which I've been member.
Well, you're fortunate too. In Bismarck is such a music capital, is what I think. The awesome opportunities that are afforded to children and adults is just phenomenal in that city.
That's true. There's as much to do as you want to do.
So,
Clyde, if you could do anything else other than what you do right now as a music educator, what would it be?
I would preach the gospel.
Amen.
Yep.
Yes, good for you.
So is it likely that you're kind of doing that anyway, but not from a podium?
I get to do it. I get to do it in a musical format. I go out and do, in addition to a lot of the performing that I do is of a comedy nature with my Mylo Hatzenbuhler idiot farm boy programs. Those are a lot of fun, and that puts bread on the table. But my wife and I, in fact, our first date was singing together at a wedding, and after we got married, we started going out and doing church programs in 4 or 5 to 6 different states. We traveled a pretty fair amount doing that for over 20 years.
Okay. Tell us a little bit.
And I love doing that. That's a vocation and a calling can be different things. And I think that's the case with me.
Can you tell us a little bit about Mylo Hatzenbuhler?
This was I suppose, an idea that grew out of other ideas. I was with some performing groups in junior high and high school, and we would do comedy sketches sometimes. And I guess I had a little bit of a knack for that. And when I got to college, which was in Dickinson in the early 1970s, I fell in with a couple of fellows, and we were writing sketch comedy. And the Hotzenbuhler idea probably grew out of those earlier things. It was certainly a product of spending time on farms and spending time with all my German family. And I posed the idea of what if you had a famous rock band, but they were all just farm kids? And this was something grown out of observation. We'd see, it was not uncommon to see students in their overalls coming to classes, and you could tell they were farm kids. And sometimes on Thursday or Friday, well, I need to leave class early, I can't be here today because we're haying right now, so I have to go home for a couple of days, that sort of thing. And it was easy to make that connection. And I don't know much about farming, but what little I did, I learned from family. And the idea became the Hotzenbuhler Brothers Band. And we wrote some material, and I was writing comedy lyrics to songs, and that's what started that sort of thing. We got to be a big hit on campus. And after leaving college, I started getting the odd request for these Hotzenbuhler, come and do your Mylo show. We heard about it. And I didn't know beans about being a performer then. That's something, if you want to keep it up, you learn over time. So I've learned the ins and outs of doing a professional presentation. I got to do a couple of state level meetings, and after that, the requests started coming in from all over. And what turned into I guess I can, maybe every 2 months or so, turned into full-time work for me, and I'm still doing it.
You are.
And how did you refine, or how did you build your skills as a presenter?
Well, you learn from experience. You learn from watching others, and you understand. There are a lot of people in the musical field who can be great musicians, but not great performances. A couple names come to mind, or at least people who used to be. But you learn how to engage an audience. One thing we try to teach here at Bismarck State and to our music students is it's not enough to have the talent. If you're aloof and you never connect, and the audience can't draw those lines, no matter how good the music is, well, you need something there there's a reason there's an audience there. You're not watching a laboratory experiment. It's an artistic, it's means of artistic expression. So what can you do to engage people? And I've got some, if you looked around the walls of my office here, I've got some quotes from career performers about that sort of thing.
Okay. Is that something that you teach then at Bismarck State? How to connect with the audience?
You do that as part of your classes, certainly. You have to teach that sort of thing, because it's art. So at some level, it's expression, and expression has to be expressed not just for a reason, but to somebody. And if you don't engage your audience, then what's the point? Right. So yeah, we do teach that, and it's a very important thing.
So that leads me to ask, what is the wisest advice anyone has ever given you? Or can you even narrow it down to just one?
As far as that, it's on my wall right here. It's from a career performer. He's a European-style clown. I got to meet in Medora. He was one of the features at the Medora Musical. He lives in Maine, and he's been at this all his life. His name is Avner Eisenberg, and he not only does performances, but he teaches. He teaches performers, and I'll condense the quote. But one thing he tells performers for a couple of different reasons. One of them is to get over the issue of physical anxiety or tension on stage. He talks about what you need to do on stage. He said, if you are, and here's key for a performer, is that you be interested. A lot of performers get up there and they think, you should watch me because I'm interesting. Well, there's a world of difference between that and being interested. If you're interested in something, people will watch you. But the minute you try to tell them that they should watch you because you're interesting, you lose the audience because you've established yourself as better than they are.
Right.
And that is something you can never do. So that would be probably my biggest piece of advice to people who perform. Be interested in what you do, and whether that's a violin solo, whether it's a vocal solo, whether you're juggling or doing sleight of hand, who cares? You're interested in what you do. Have you ever watched the Blue Man Group?
Yes.
They're a perfect example of this.
Yes.
Their whole act is a matter of discovery.
Yes.
How can I do this? This fascinates me. And you watch them and they bring the audience along. They do masterfully at that.
How do you teach that to your students? Do you have labs that you create, and they have to come up with these creative ideas and you critique them, or how do you go about doing that?
Once a week we have a performance lab, and almost all colleges do this for your majors, and they get up and whatever instrumental vocal it happens to be, then they get to practice performing, because that's what a laboratory setting is. So we just had that yesterday here at the college. We have two vocal majors who are going to a statewide competition next week. So they presented their entire set of songs. And they've been doing these one at a time. And we talk about technical things, vocally speaking, or addressing this particular thing in the music. But you also talk about interpretation of a text and of the music itself as a whole. And you talk about how you relate to your audience.
Engagement.
Yeah. Are you up there, and that's the perfect word for it, are you engaging them? And not because you're better, but because the music is worth hearing and worth being presented.
Right. And inviting them to be a part of that.
Yeah. So we have this once again, this vehicle, performance lab, and almost all colleges do. And that's where you learn some of the ins and outs of being a performer.
Sure.
And we have music business classes. We have other classes. Well, obviously in your individual instruction, you're going to learn about these things too. How do I set up a program? What can I do? What does this song offer me that will lead to another one or lead from another one, whatever it happens to be? There's so many aspects of that.
Clyde, how do you, as the character of Mylo Hatzenbuhler, connect with your audience?
Mylo is interested, once again, but he's interested in his lifelong calling, which is to take over for Elvis Presley. As I tell people in shows that the day I heard Elvis died, I knew I had some big galoshes to fill. So he started, it's one of many monologues I do, and he said, even though I was only 15, I knew that was my life's calling. So at 15 years of age, I turned to my 5th grade teacher and I said, the world needs me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's awesome.
Right away, you get the idea that Mylo, here's one of the caps and shades that I wear, true blue old-fashioned Senex guy, winter cap, so your ears don't freeze and fall off.
Yeah.
But right away, you realize that, and I love wordplay. I write song parodies. A lot of my monologue material is based on some sort of wordplay. And right away, I established the idea that Mylo's an idiot, but he's a very well-meaning idiot, and he is on his mission, and he won't let anything stop him.
Huh. And to you, what is the meaning of the word idiot?
Gets a lot of things wrong.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Unintentionally, probably.
Not unintentionally, of course, but his eyes are bright, his purpose is clear,
There
and once again, I have a job to do, like he said to his 5th grade teacher.
Yeah. Does your wife work with you in your Mylo act?
She started to a long time ago. Yeah. Interestingly, we had sung together always, and doing gospel programs and some variety programs. She was a longtime member of the civic chorus as well, so we got to do program material together there. I had one particular situation where I was very sick, not laying in a bed, but I'd gotten hoarse and I couldn't sing very well, and I had several shows lined up on consecutive days and in separate states. And I asked, "Do you think this will be the time?" Because we toyed with the idea of having her on stage as Mylo's wife, Emma, and she is Emma. And so we went to somebody in town who does costuming for theater, and decided on an outfit for her that day. And she came along and did the shows with me to give me a relief in the middle. So she made a cameo appearance, as it will.
Sure.
And found out the very first day she was a natural on stage. She ad-libs, she picks her spots. She doesn't say a lot, but when she does, it's perfect.
Neat.
Aren't you lucky?
Yes.
And I'll never forget that first time too. We were it was not a formal theater setting. It was a big open community style room. I think at a Knights of Columbus or something like that. And we had 200 people all around us. And at one point the intercom goes off, a beep, there's a phone call for so-and-so. Right in the middle of the show. These things happen. And as soon as that beep went off, right on cue, she ducked under a table and screamed air raid. There was no prompting. We hadn't talked about any script things at all. But,
yes.
yeah. So she's the only one who can break me up on stage. And she has a number of times.
Why is Mylo's home Strasburg, North Dakota?
It was a good German town. The Lawrence Welk connection, of course, that's an easy one to make. But I come from an all-German town, little tiny Java, South Dakota, about 50 miles south of Strasburg, in fact. And Strasburg was a good choice because people knew about that from Lawrence Welk, and it was as German as they come.
Do you?
So that's behind what we lovingly call the Iron Curtain down there.
And tell us about that.
Well, it just means they're all Germans. That's all.
Oh.
If you go through an old style German cemetery, you don't see headstones. You see iron crosses a lot of the time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another aspect of heritage there. That may have had something to do with it.
Okay. All right. And do you play instruments in your comedic acts?
I play piano, and once again, I have no technique. My hands could be this way and this way, and I would play about as well. It wouldn't matter, but I've pretty good experience on piano, and I can fake my way through things. And I play, in fact, I play a baritone ukulele too.
And I have just like that.
Yeah, and accordion. I play accordion, but not in only in studio settings where I can have multiple takes.
Oh, sure. I know that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. So those three instruments plus Mylo's bad singing.
Oh. So when you are singing, what part are you, a tenor or a baritone or what part?
Mylo is just a guy.
What about how about Clyde?
Oh, I'm a tenor.
Okay.
I'm a tenor. Some baritone aspects as you get older, but that's what happens to the voice as you get older.
Yes. Tell us, Clyde, how do people reach you if they are interested in learning more about your act and how you can entertain them at their next event? Oh,
they can contact me through my website, farmboymusic.com.
Okay.
Or they can call me at 391-MYLO, 701-391-MYLO, Mylo Hatzenbuhler.
Okay. That sounds great. Yep. Well, I bet viewers, I must tell you that we were able to find Clyde and Mylo through a former guest of ours, Linda Donlin from Bismarck, who was very musical and associated with Clyde through the music, which group, Mylo, in Bismarck? The chorus?
Bismarck State Civic Chorus.
Yes, yes. And so, folks, that's how we oftentimes get our guests.
Yeah.
And we would love to have you contact us. And you could do that either by commenting at this YouTube channel, or we will have it on our Facebook page, the 1950s Fun Chat. We just think it's wonderful to be able to have connections with people who think that their friend or their associate, or maybe even someone they don't know, would be a great guest and have a great history. Mylo, I'd like to know one thing, please, before we close the program, and that is, what from the 1950s was it that has been so instrumental in your life?
I have to say family.
Okay.
The cohesiveness of it, the closeness of it, having a wonderful mother and father who knew when it was time to work, and they knew when it was time to play,
Yes.
and knew always that life is matter for learning.
Yes.
There was great joy in the house always. There was law in the house too. You need to know about those things, and the importance of family. You can't go anywhere without a foundation like that, I think.
That's true. Bravo. It's wonderful that you realize that and have brought that forward with you all through your adult life.
I have good ties with a guest you've had also, Greg Nelson.
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
So did you used to live next to him? Because he lived in that vicinity.
Okay, Greg. Well, we knew each other in town for a long time here. He was our Luther League director when I was in high school.
Okay.
And through that, I started singing in a group with his, Today's Renaissance.
Okay. So you went to Trinity Lutheran?
Excuse me?
You a Trinity Lutheran? That's what you're.
This is Faith Lutheran.
Oh, Faith. Okay.
Yep. That was the German Lutheran church in town.
Oh,
that was the one where the Germans went at that time.
Yes, and I know what a wonderful friend we have garnered, I should say, from Greg, just because really reconnecting on these fun chats. He's so willing to share his story. That's what's so neat about it. Well, thank you for mentioning that.
Career, supremely talented guy, a wonderful, wonderful man. I'm glad I know him.
Yeah. Did you know his sister Sigrid?
Yeah. Sang in high school choir with her.
Oh yeah.
Hey, beautiful, a gifted singer and a lovely young woman.
Yes. Well, I stood right beside her. She was first chair, first soprano, and I was first chair, first alto. We had some great times together.
And she played the organ at our wedding. Okay. Enough of that.
Yes. Well, anyway. Viewers and guests, we have had a wonderful conversation today with our guest, Mr. Clyde Bauman, or you might know him as Mylo Hatzenbuhler. And he is from Bismarck, North Dakota. You might say it's our adopted city when we were growing up in the 1950s. And we thank you, Clyde, for being our guest. This has been wonderful.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie, gosh, so much more to talk about, but yet you close our program for us.
It's time. Yes. I'm just going to like to remind our viewers to look at that red subscribe button. Click that. Also, the blue thumbs up button. And tell your friends, even your relatives, about the 1950s Fun Chat. So till next time, toodaloo.
Bye.